Good afternoon, class. This is Mr. Ross. It is Friday, and today is the 21st of August. And finally, we get to start talking a little bit more about my class. Monday and Wednesday of this week, we were doing a lot of things necessary for the school, and now we finally get to look at some more specific things on my class. And believe it or not, on Monday, we should actually finally start doing some math. Before we get to the math, I wanted to talk about these very important things. Since we are doing distance learning, we're going to take a closer look at my Schoology page, and that's basically because Schoology will drive basically all of the interaction that we have this year. You've already kind of gotten a pretty good taste of that, but I just want to make sure that you're aware of all the important things that you can see on my Schoology page, and hopefully we'll also better understand as it grows. Also, we're going to take a look at our textbook today, so I wanted to give you an introduction to the textbook. I know you don't have your hands on the textbook yet. You will. As of right now, the plan is to distribute textbooks either next week or the week after. I will be sure to let you know as soon as I know, but there will be a day that you will come to school and you'll get all of your textbooks at the same time. There is a math textbook. There is a book for this class. And until you get your hands on the hard copy, then today we'll be looking at how to use the textbook that's digital. So there is a digital version of the textbook, and I'll show you where to find that, how we're going to use it, and how it really is exactly the same as your hard copy, other than the fact that it's on your screen instead of on paper. But before we get to either of those things, I wanted to follow up with you about growth mindset. Yesterday's assignment was to watch the video and post to the discussion question that was on my Schoology page. Thank you for doing that. And once again, that's just another way to earn points in the class. And so we definitely want to keep that up. But at the same time, I wanted to follow up with you about growth mindset. So let's look at some of the most important elements to that video that you watched yesterday. I hope that you've learned about growth mindset before. I hope that this is not 100% new. If it is, that's okay too. But honestly, growth mindset, I feel like is something that should be talked about in every one of your classes and at every grade level. This is such an important practice for education, and I really hope that you take growth mindset to heart. And the hardest time to take growth mindset to heart is when you're feeling frustrated or when you're feeling like things are getting too difficult, and yet that's the most important time. Growth mindset means to never give up. And so, like I said, when things are at their worst, when you are struggling the most, that's the most important time to remember that it's important to have a growth mindset, that you just can't give up. That's the only way that you lose. That's the only way that you truly fail, is if you quit. And this being an honors class, I have confidence that one of the things that got you to the level where you are today, that gave your 6th grade teacher the confidence to place you into an honors class, or has driven your parents to ask to have you put into an honors class, or whatever you've done to earn your way into this class, I have a feeling that a big part of that is the fact that you don't give up when things get difficult. And I think it's important for us to just recognize that. It's important not to believe that that's just something that is automatic. And I think it's also something that should be celebrated. The next thing that I wanted to talk about with growth mindset is that struggle is good. That's one of the messages that they gave to you in the video yesterday. And struggle is exactly how we learn. I like the example of learning something other than math. We'll get to math in just a minute. but I'm sure that you've learned many things. I'll tell you what, right now, set your status to thumbs up if you are someone who likes to play a musical instrument. I'll give you 10 seconds. Give me a status of thumbs up if you like to play a musical instrument. Tell you what, let's go ahead and just open up chat. You don't need to raise your hand first. Share which musical instrument you like to play. Let's see them. Everyone can go ahead and just add into chat if you have a musical instrument that you'd like to play. This is not required. I know music's not for everyone. Wow. That is great. And the reason why I wanted you to share about musical instruments is because learning a musical instrument is a very challenging thing to do. That is something that I don't believe anyone is good at on the first try. Think about when you first started to learn your musical instrument. No matter how good you are now or average or whatever, when you first started to learn your musical instrument, I'll bet you didn't sound very good. And that's okay. It's okay to smile. You think about, well, what was the first song that you learned how to play? Maybe something like Mary Had a Little Lamb, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And even that song might have been difficult for you at one point in time. And that's understandable. Having a growth mindset is what caused you not to give up. Every step along the way of learning that musical instrument, you've probably struggled over and over again. But that's how you've learned. You've constantly pushed yourself to do more and to try more and more difficult pieces. And every time you try a new piece or a more difficult piece, it's hard. You struggle. But that's how you learn and that's how you get better. I'm going to give you one more example now. So let me go ahead and clear everyone's status. Now, I'd like for you to give me a thumbs up if you like to play a sport. Show me thumbs up if there is any sport that you like to play. Great. You can share that into chat now. So again, let's go ahead and open up chat. Let's see which sports you like to play. Go ahead and share that in the chat. Nice. All right. Learning a sport is just like learning a musical instrument. Think about when you first started to play that sport. You may have only been 4 or 5 years old, but regardless, I bet that when you first started to learn your sport, you were probably not very good at it. And that's okay. Nobody starts out amazing at anything. We have to struggle. We have to go through that. And when I was in high school, I used to play tennis. That was my sport. And mostly while I was growing up, I would play tennis against my dad. And my dad is very good at tennis. And whenever we would play, he would beat me. And I would feel sad. And my mom would get mad at him and say, "Why don't you let him win sometimes?" And my dad knew that it was the struggle that I would go through that would cause me to get better. If you think about any sport at all, you don't get better by playing against easy people. If there is no challenge, it doesn't force you to improve. The challenge is what makes us stronger. And the exact same thing is true for math class. In math class, things start out difficult. That's the whole point. We learn new things, like learning a new musical piece, and we will struggle with it at first, but we need to persevere. We just can't give up, because the more that we stick with it, the more the questions that we ask, the more that we revisit that material and practice, the better we will get. When it comes to sports, think about how important practice has been for you. It's definitely not the most fun part, but I would say it is definitely the most necessary part. We have to practice anything that we want to get good at. Next thing is, we say that I cannot do this yet. It's natural to say I can't do this. Over the summer, I really worked hard to try to learn how to play the piano. I'm terrible at it. I am an absolute beginner at the piano. I started the summer just trying to learn using an app on the iPad. It's simply Piano, by the way. I don't know if anybody else uses it. But I struggled a whole bunch, and I sounded terrible, and I still do. But I do continue to, and I keep pushing myself to try to learn more difficult pieces. And my family could tell you that there are days where I get really frustrated and I just feel like I cannot do this. And I think we all feel that way sometimes in different areas. And the most important thing about having a growth mindset is it's okay to say I cannot do this, but you have to follow that up with the word yet. You have to recognize that failure is temporary. It's a part of the experience, it's a part of the growth experience, but it is a temporary part. And we will fail until we succeed. And once we succeed, we won't fail at that anymore. And then we'll challenge ourselves with something even more difficult. That's why part of having a growth mindset means it's important to look for improvement in yourself. Celebrate the improvement. Celebrate how you get a little bit better every time you try something. And therefore, you usually won't feel as discouraged when you're going through that struggle. And finally, let's talk about how this gets reflected in my class. So in my class, we're going to do lots of math throughout the year. Some of it will be easy for you, and that's okay. I've designed the class in such a way that hopefully it's easy to be successful. That is honestly my goal. I would love for every one of you to be very successful in my class. But at the same time, I've told you the importance of challenge. That I can't do all the thinking for you. I'm going to put problems out there and you're going to have to figure them out. You're going to have to figure your way through them. It will be frustrating at times. There will be times where you will wish that I might be more helpful to you. But understand that I will be just as helpful as is necessary, but not too much. I want to leave you to your own devices, and I want to allow you to struggle. That's important. Unfortunately, if we were in a classroom right now, you'd be able to struggle together a lot more. I do believe in giving a lot of group work, but let's face it, group work is pretty tough while we're doing distance learning. You are welcome to form your own study groups on your end. You can create your own Zoom meetings. You can work together on assignments and help each other. The only thing you can't work together on are the quizzes. Those need to be done individually. But I will tell you that once we return to the classroom, whenever that time may come, we will be working together, and then you'll be able to share that struggle a bit more. And the next thing I'd like to do is take a look at Schoology. So here we are on my Schoology page, and you can see that this should look pretty similar to what you see on your page. You probably don't have quite as many choices over here. This is where I can see all the different members. I can do all kinds of analytics and things like that based on how much you're using Schoology, when you last checked in with my class, when you last logged into Schoology overall. They give us all kinds of information, which I'm not going to go into right now because you don't really need to know that. But the material section over here, that is the most important part. You can see that we have last week's folder right here. So the week of August 10th. This was our first week of school. We have the assignments for the week, so I will always put a page in there that just summarizes the assignments for the week. It's great if you ever feel like you're getting lost or behind. You can just consult this, And it gives you nice confirmation so you know what's going to be graded in Aries, what should you be doing each day, when does it need to be done, things like that. And so you can see the first week was pretty simple. On Wednesday, we had no assignment because school got essentially canceled that day. Thursday, there was also no assignment. Even though I had planned to give you one, I couldn't really do that since we didn't meet on Wednesday. Therefore, Friday was the only assignment that we had for the week, and that was called synchronous engagement because you received points for engagement during our synchronous time. And you saw that reflected in Aries. Also, in the folder, you can see that there is a link to Friday's lesson. And so this connects you to the lesson that was on Friday, the only one that we actually had that week. And that just takes you directly to YouTube so that you can watch the video if you are absent, or if you just need to go back and rewatch the video because you needed some extra help. Most of the time, these lessons, these videos are going to be math-based. In fact, they'll usually be 100% math. And it'll be nice for you to be able to go back and watch that, and this is where you can always find that link. Taking a look back at the main page, you can see that this is this week's folder. So this week's folder also has the assignments for the week. And if we open that up, you can see that this week on Monday, there was no assignment. You just had to attend our conference, and that's because the school basically took over my class on Monday and told me what we had to do. And so it wasn't really anything to do with my class, but you just had to be there. Tuesday, though, I did want to give you that discussion question. So we did a nice, easy discussion question to get the hang of doing that. Wednesday, again, no assignment for the exact same reason on Monday. You just had to show up on Wednesday so we could do what the school wanted us to do. Yesterday, we had another discussion question, this time about growth mindset. And here is today's. This is our synchronous engagement, and you will be receiving points for today because now we are back to my class. In fact, you should count on earning points every single day moving forward. Monday and Wednesday were kind of the exceptions, and that's just because of what we did on those days. For the discussion questions, you can see those will always be located in the folder as well. So we had the one from Tuesday, and here's the one from Thursday. And then we also have the link to today's lesson. So this is the only lesson that's linked this week, and that's just because this is the only one that I was able to actually record. Mondays and Wednesdays were both done live, again, because they weren't really my lessons. They were things that the school asked us to do. Finally, the last, well, two more things, I guess. You can see here's another one down here, but it's in a gray box, and you can see that this is next week's plan. So I'm not going to click on that yet because right now you can see it is unpublished. This allows me to create things ahead of time, but just kind of hide them from you. So that way you don't see them until I'm ready for you to see them. And that's when I just come on over here and I can publish it, and then it shows up on your screen. So that allows me to work ahead. Next week's, you can see what color the folder is going to be. And I usually publish those things on either Sunday night or Monday morning. My goal is to always try to put them up Sunday night if I can. And then now, finally, the last thing to look at is the resources folder. I'll add to this as time goes on. But right now it contains a copy of the curriculum letter that we talked about on the first day of school. So that's all there. I hope that you'll share that with your parents. And also in the resources folder, you will find links to our textbook. And so Math 7 Module 1, that is the textbook that we have. This is in PDF form. So when you click on this, it should open up the textbook, and there you have it. Now, as far as downloading this onto a Chromebook goes, I'm not exactly sure how that works. I know that printing can be really tricky if you're using a Chromebook. Obviously, if you're using a desktop computer at home, you have a lot more power at your fingertips. Then you can download this to your desktop. I highly recommend doing so. I have a copy of it on my desktop as well. And if you are working on a desktop computer, that also enables you to print. And printing will be valuable over the next week or so. Once you have your own hard copy of the textbook in your hands, it won't be necessary anymore. If you don't have access to a printer, then you can just pick and choose the pages that you need, and you can just copy the questions onto a separate sheet of paper, and that's just fine too. You're not expected to actually turn in hard copies of the book or any hard copies of the work that we do. You will be asked to work on some just because it's important practice. It's part of our learning process. So I may assign you questions. There will also be class time where we will work on questions out of the book during class time. So I can kind of be there to guide you if you need it. We'll talk about some and then maybe take 2 minutes where you get to work on the next problem, and then we can all check it together. It's a nice way to work our way through problems as we learn. And like I said, in those cases, if you can't print things out, it's always okay to just copy the questions that you need onto another sheet of paper. Looking at the way the book is organized, the biggest things in the book are called modules. Our book has a total of 5 modules in it. It's our goal to get through as many of those modules as we can, maybe even all of them. And those are the big subjects within the book. Beneath the modules, we have topics. And so the first topic of the first module you can see is called circles and ratio. So that's what we'll start talking about in our class next week, is we're going to be talking about circles and different information about circles. And we're going to use what we learn about circles to really learn an important 7th grade concept, which is all about ratios. You may be saying, oh, I already know all about circles. I already know all about ratios. And that's great. Understand that the way that Common Core Math has been structured is for you to continually learn the same things year after year, except every time you learn it, we go to greater levels of depth. And so you will find that it's common for us to start from a point that you do know, something that you've already learned, and then move to more challenging areas within that subject, things that you haven't yet learned. And that's the way that they structure things. So beneath topics, they're then organized into lessons. So we have lesson 1, lesson 2, and lesson 3. And if we scroll on down, we have some pages here that talk about the family guide. I encourage you to take a look at that. It just kind of puts in plain English what we're learning about, where have we been, where are we going. It just gives nice little summaries of what this is about. Some great warm-up information here about circles. And then when we get down to here, this is what the beginning of a lesson looks like. So pi, the ultimate ratio, is lesson 1. So this number shows lesson 1. And we're going to be exploring the ratio of a circle, circumference to diameter. And we're not doing this today, but this is what we'll be talking about next week. But for right now, I just wanted you to understand how the book is organized. And so notice I'm still in the Schoology page. I'm doing exactly what you could be doing right now. You're welcome to just watch me. But after class today, maybe you want to try this out yourself and kind of explore a little bit more. You see that we have warm-up activities. Sometimes we'll do those in class. So sometimes I'll say, all right, class, before we get going, I want you to do questions 1 through 4 of the warm-up on page M17. So notice they do have kind of an odd numbering system to their page numbers here. M1 stands for Module 1. So all the pages of Module 1 will start with M1, and then the next number that follows is the one that just increases as we go. So notice the next page is page M18. And then when we get to Module 2, this number will start over again. So warm-ups are great. We'll work on those in class, and sometimes those will get assigned to you. And then we have learning goals, which are always important to keep an eye on, because this just shows you what we're working towards by studying this. And it's great to keep these goals in mind as we go, especially towards the end. This is something that a lot of people don't do, but they really should. And that is to go back to these when we've reached the end, just to remind yourself, hey, did I meet these goals? Do I know how to do these things? And then key terms, it's always good to keep our eyes on the vocabulary. And if there's ever any terms that you don't know, you want to put little stars next to those. Usually I'll teach it to you at some point. But if I haven't, then that's the sort of thing that you'd want to ask about. And don't forget, at any time you can ask questions in class. This is our class right now. We talked about the procedure for doing that. You just raise your hand, type the question into the box. Don't post the question until I call your name, but I'll always try to get to a good stopping point, and that's when I can call your name and respond to your question. And so those are the key terms that we have. And then we get into the actual lessons, and you can see that the book has some nice pictures. They talk about things over here. These are the kinds of questions that I talked about us probably working on during class at times, and then following up together to see how we did. This will be one of the first pages right here that we'll be talking about next week. So page M110, and you will see page numbers on my Schoology page as we go. So that way you know which pages we're covering each day in class and what you might be responsible for as an asynchronous assignment. I'll pause right there to see if there are any questions about the textbook or anything else that I've talked about today. All right, one last thing for me to show you is that within each lesson, every lesson is divided into activities. And so you can see this is lesson 1 and this is activity 1.1. So there's also going to be activities. That's the smallest division there is. I think it's time for today's engagement. So here's a question. Today's engagement is going to be about posting the answer to my question in chat. So listen carefully. All you have to do is post the answer into chat. Even if you're not correct, as long as you post something into chat, you're going to get the points. If you post nothing, then you won't get the points. But today I'm going to ask you to post an answer to my question in chat. Here's the question. The smallest division of the book is the activity. The next biggest is the lesson. The next biggest from that is the topic. What is the biggest overall? What is the biggest division of the book? Go ahead and post into chat now. The smallest is the activity. Bigger than that is the lesson. Bigger than the lesson is the topic. Which is the biggest overall? Bigger than a topic. I'm going to give about 20 more seconds. 20 more seconds just to make sure everyone's had an opportunity to post an answer. I will be coming back and checking all the names, and everyone who's posted an honest answer, a realistic answer to this question will receive your 10 points of engagement for today. Again, I like to keep it easy, especially at the beginning of the year. So I'm going to say 10 more seconds. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And so now I can go back and check that chat. And the correct answer was module. Module was correct. You can see it was right up here, module 1. I told you that there were 5 of them all together. And so with that, that's all that I have for you today. I hope that you have a great day today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thanks a lot for coming to class, and thanks a lot for engaging with me today. Bye-bye.